everyone, and welcome back to the Wellness Podcast. This is episode number 91. My name is Slater, and I'm here with Adam and Caitlin.
What's up?
Hello.
It's probably 79 degrees in Santa Barbara, and Adam has a beanie on.
And a long sleeve shirt.
Listen, dudes, you complain about my hair being wild, so I have to put a beanie on. Like,
Oh my
you
God,
choose. What do you want?
I did not say that you had to put a beanie on.
Yeah, we never said you had to put a beanie on.
Yeah, because you're like, oh my gosh, your hair. Like, what do you like? Oh my gosh, you need a haircut. Like, oh yeah.
No, I did not say that.
Nobody said you needed a haircut.
Nobody said that.
I feel judged over here, right? So I got to put my freaking hairdo in a beanie.
Oh my gosh.
How'd you guys, my friends?
Guacamole.
We are your friend.
What's up, dudes?
Oh my goodness.
You guys been whaling or what?
Been getting salty.
Yeah, dude.
Whaling all day.
Yeah.
Should I go first?
Caitlin, hit him with the sightings. What did I just say your name?
Yeah.
Caitlin, hit him with the sightings.
Slater's losing his mind.
Happening? You
I don't
both
know.
are.
This is a strange intro, but I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Sorry.
Let's start over.
No, let's keep going.
I want to start over.
Let's hear it, Caitlin. What do you got for us?
Oh my gosh. We saw lots of humpback whales, and let's see. I don't know if we've seen dolphins since the last time we recorded. It's kind of all a blur. Because Sunday we got blown off the water all day. So I think just humpback whales.
Have they been doing anything? They just been being whales, or
we've had a few calves that have been a little bit fun, blowing bubbles, rolling around. One calf, Dyad's calf, it like spy hops, but like killer whale style, like really fast.
yeah.
And so that's been kind of silly to see. It's done it a couple times. We had pretty rough weather today, so I didn't really get to see a lot of what was going on deck because I was more preoccupied with the people. But yeah, mom calf pairs. The calves are getting really big, and sometimes they do fun things. And we've been down on Stellwagen Bank, and some of the whales that we've seen up on Jeffrey's Ledge, which is like more towards New Hampshire, have now been down on Stellwagen. So like some sort of big shift happened within the last 10 days or so.
They're ditching you.
Well, no, I mean, we can get to Stellwagen pretty easily as well, but like some of the same whales we were watching, 15 miles from where they have shifted. So
I thought they were like loyal to their zone.
they are, but I mean, if there's no food there, then they have to go find something else.
Yeah.
So there's one whale named Pixar who is a 21-year-old whale, and we have no calving history for it, but it doesn't look very beat up for a 21-year-old whale, and it looks very wide in the lower half of its abdomen.
Could be preggers.
So I'm wondering if Pixar is actually a female that's pregnant this year. So we'll see. Maybe next year Pixar will be reported with a calf. There's another whale up here that was like that. It was like 15 years old or something, named Bayou, and everybody's like, oh, it's a male. It hasn't had a calf yet. It's definitely a male. Well, this year Bayou has a calf. So
Whales, man. Every time you think they're gonna zig, they just zag.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm putting Pixar on my suspected list.
Nice.
But yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty much it from over here.
It's been pretty much the same here. We've been seeing humpback whales in pretty good numbers every day. 10 to 20, kind of varies. But they've been hanging out in the exact same spot. It's just one of our local kind of spots. And they're on one of their streaks again where they're just like very focused on food. And obviously it's kind of getting later in the season and they're all just focused on food. So they're taking 5 to 8 minute dives and then popping up, a quarter mile away, a half mile away, and they're all doing the same thing. No, none of them are really doing any activities at the surface. We did have some kelping today. We were actually off the water today because we didn't have enough passengers, but I still went out there with my captain, one of our other buddies, and it was just a gorgeous day. Bunch of whales out there. We probably had a dozen whales today, and we found one of everybody's favorite whale named Snowflake, and he was rolling around the kelp, doing some spy hopping in the kelp. And I honestly think kelping's my favorite behavior. I don't know why. It's just super fun.
Only if it's big kelp though. When they play in little kelp, it's not as fun.
Well, it's just like on our way out today, we're just like, holy crap, we got so much kelp out here. Like, I hope we find a whale in here. And then everything, it seems like here in Santa Barbara, like everything kind of trends east throughout the day. Like you'll find the whales towards the west, and then they all just like slowly kind of moved east. And so we eventually ended up in the area with a bunch of kelp patties, and there was just, and Snowflake was just having a ball. He would just go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. So yeah, I love watching kelping. I don't know, it's just super fun. And yeah, we've been seeing good amounts of dolphins too. Sea lions are also in the mix. So they're all kind of feeding together, but the bait seems to be pretty far down there. We honestly haven't seen lunge feeding since like the very beginning of the season in March, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, bunch of whales, bunch of dolphins. Good time.
Sounds like a great time.
It's a great time. It's a great time to be out in the water. Hashtag get on a boat.
Well, Kate's gonna sue you, dude.
Oh no.
She has that trademarked.
Taking her slogan.
We have to edit that out, dude. No, I'm just saying.
Oh my god. This is not a sponsored episode.
Yeah, podcast.
Guess what?
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 You saw something super mega ultra rare.
My passenger today is going on your boat on Friday, Adam.
My boat.
Yes.
Nice.
So you better give them freaking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something.
Cook them up
Whatever
something
her
good
heart
from
desires.
the galley.
Hot dogs, PB&Js,
I'm just joking.
turkey burgers.
Wait, do you guys make PB&J on the boat, or do you have Uncrustables?
Yeah, no, it's like real PB&J. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, we're fancy up in here.
We have Uncrustables on our boat.
Those are bomb too, though. I remember when I used to go ham on those things when I was like 6 years old. I had like 3 a day.
Frozen?
No, I don't like the frozen ones. They got to be like warm, so like the jelly is like not like rock solid, you know.
Anyways, this is not the Uncrustables podcast.
Welcome to the Uncrustables podcast.
Slater, tell us about your super mega ultra rare sighting today.
Well, the thing is I was watching a few humpback whales when I got the call that we had fat fin.
That's not what was rare.
I'm joking. He's not that rare. He's been here 4 days in a row. I saw a short-tailed albatross.
Woohoo!
What's a short-tailed albatross?
Well, Adam, it's funny you ask because I know nothing about the short-tailed albatross.
All right, Kate, I wasn't asking you. I was asking Caitlin. Caitlin, what's a short-tailed albatross?
I actually meant to look this up before we started.
Back to Slater.
Keep talking about your sightings. I'll pull up the info.
Let me tell you something about a short-tailed albatross. They have a pink nose.
Pink
They
bill.
don't have noses, Adam. I was testing you.
Bills.
I have
They're
a pink
seabird.
nose.
Yeah, but they're part of the. Are they part of the tube? What?
Tube nose.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so
interesting.
They're procellariformes or something. Procelliformes. I don't know. Some birder's going to tell me I said it wrong, but yeah.
Oh,
Shearwaters, fulmars, storm petrels, diving petrels, and albatrosses.
What about auklets?
No, they're auklets and mers are a different thing.
Auklets are like close to puffins, aren't they?
Yeah, auklets, puffins, and mers are like the same.
It hasn't been a big. I don't know if it's a big year back. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of them this year.
Of auklets?
Rhinoceros auklets, yeah.
Dinosaur auklets.
Dinosaur auklets. I saw one today though. Yeah, so the sightings, I left for a few days, but when I left, the last Friday I was here, we had 40 humpback whales. And then the only reason we had 40 was just to beat Adam's 20 humpback whales.
Literally, we had an awesome day. We had like 25 whales. I was like, oh yeah, we're like Monterey's level. Let's go. A bunch of humpback whales. And Slater's like, oh yeah, we had 40 today.
No, we had more than that. Honestly, it's funny because you posted that when I had already seen it when I was talking to Kate on the radio, and I was literally gonna say like 35 plus, and she was like, whatever she came up with, she was like, no, way over 40 today. And I was like, all right, we'll do 40 plus.
Hurt my feelings, bro.
There was so many whales. It's just weird when there's just like everybody has like when everybody's calling out groups of 3 or 4, and then you can see like 10 around you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There were so many. There still is a lot of whales. Today, I saw 15 whales. Like, personally saw 15. I know some boats had some to the south. But yeah,
I only saw
I
15
only had
whales.
15 whales today. It was kind of a bad day in Monterey.
today was a little bit of a slower day for us, but
Oh my god.
but let me tell you, before
Yeah,
I saw
freaking
the
fat fins jumping out of the water.
let me tell you, before I got to, you know what, Fat Fin almost distracted us from seeing something really great. I actually stopped for Fat Fin, but then these 2 juvenile humpback whales went absolutely crazy. When I tell you crazy,
Kate said she
I'm
had
gonna
double
say
breaching.
3 to 4 double breaches in a row, followed by one after another, like not even 2 seconds between the two. So like one is falling in as the other one's coming up. Boom, 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 and boom, and then
Why do you have a fork in your
you thought that was enough, and then they went to peck slapping, and then I was like, and so now the new thing is when whales go to peck slap, you almost know they're going to continue breaching. Kate calls it it's their
It's their break.
She says it's alternators. So they just like, it's like they alternate between breaching and peck slapping. And
That's
so,
not a new thing.
Wait, why didn't I?
The term alternators. That's what she's
Oh,
saying.
the alternator thing.
Why didn't
Yeah.
Why didn't I see any pictures from that today when you were going through your
I haven't
photos?
even looked at my photos yet, dude.
Oh,
And so then, also most of those were happening when we were still like quarter mile away. So it wasn't like,
oh.
but still watching it, my passenger was so happy. We were just like, holy shit, is it gonna keep going? And then it kept going, and then it was like boom, boom, boom.
Those
boom.
are the best. Like
And
constant breachers are just like what?
And so it's funny because we weren't even trying, but then Fat Fin kind of came up near us, and then a humpback that was next to Fat Fin breached in front of Danny, which I was nowhere near, but I saw it happen. Then those whales stopped breaching, went over to Fat Fin, saw Fat Fin and CA 169 for a few looks. I saw them for like 2 different sequences. They were staying down 6 minutes. So, and then after I got those looks, they lost the whales for like 15 to 20 minutes. So
The killer whales.
yeah. And then that was when I was my time to go in anyway. So I went in, and on my way in, right in front of the harbor at 48 and 49, there was a short-tailed albatross.
All right, you ready for some
Somebody's-
short-tailed albatross facts?
Yes, this is what I was been waiting for.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So short-tailed albatross, also called the Steller's albatross, is
Ooh.
larger than the black-footed and the Laysan albatross, and it
Ooh.
honestly looks kind of like a mix between the two, with a pink bill when it's an adult plumage. So it's like a white body with black on the wingtips and a little bit on the shoulders, and then a yellow head when they're in
Whoa, they're
breeding
wild
plumage.
looking.
Yeah, but they get 7.5 feet wingspan. So like that's a big bird.
They're not as big as the wandering though, right?
No, the wandering's like 11 feet or something. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So they used to be a lot more common, but they were exploited by humans, typical.
Everything else.
And most of the breeding colonies are on the western side of the Pacific Ocean, so like off of Japan. However, there is one pair on Midway in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, and I didn't know this, but they actually hatched a chick in 2011, and it takes about 10 years for the bird to get out of juvenile plumage. But they also, I heard a story from ACS a few years ago from a woman who went and did the Midway survey in the 2019 season. I think it's the same year Greg McCormick went. And in 2018, that the short-tailed albatross pair stole an egg from a black-footed albatross and raised it. And then in 2019, they had their own chick hatch. So my theory is that the bird you saw today, Slater, might be that 2019 chick.
Are you gonna just create science right in front of us?
Wait, I'm confused.
Wait, let me tell you one thing about the Midway Atoll. So some ladies that volunteer there for the last like 30 or 40 years or something went on a trip with me or the trip I led to Baja with the gray whales last year.
Oh, yeah,
2
yeah.
years ago. Okay, they would volunteer on the island, and what would happen is somehow eggs would get lost, or parents would get lost or not come back. They would actually, I don't know if it was necessarily, there was something else that nests there to another bird.
So
like a petrel or
Laysan
something.
albatross Yeah, lace and albatross, black-footed albatross, the one short-tailed pair, a shearwater species. I think it's wedge-tailed.
Maybe it
And
was so
Hawaiian petrels, and then like the little fairy terns or something.
they would move it to other nest and
Yeah.
they would take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Yeah, if there's a viable egg that gets abandoned and another pair is lost an egg, they'll give it to the other pair.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Can you say that again?
Okay,
so
in
confusing?
2011, the short tail albatross pair on Midway hatched
Yeah.
a chick.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it. But in 2018, the short tail pair lost their egg and then had a black-footed albatross egg that they hatched and got to fledging. I don't know if the volunteers gave it to them or if they stole it.
Gotcha.
Then in 2019, as far as I'm aware, they had their own chick and it fledged. So
you
my
think it's the
theory is that
2019.
this bird that Slater saw is the 2019 chick.
Oh.
It has a band, but no one's gotten a really good photo of the band.
Well, maybe if it's there tomorrow, not saying I'll throw a Snicker bar to it, but if you apply for a Snicker bar,
It comes over and asks nicely.
Yeah.
No, there's also a poster out from NOAA saying like if you see the bird, stay away from it because they think it might be ill or injured. And I know it doesn't look super great, but like they all look ugly when they're molting.
Mine didn't look that. Mine looked beautiful.
Like I saw a
Yeah.
picture of it with its wings out, and on the right side it's missing a few primaries, but like those birds don't do a catastrophic molt where they lose their ability to fly, so they have to molt primaries a few at a time so that they can always fly. Whereas like
Yeah.
MERS, they do a catastrophic molt and they molt all their flight feathers at the same time. So there's literally a period of time where they cannot fly. They have to paddle on the water when they're molting.
I mean, think about us when we were in our molting / puberty phase. We were all ugly.
You're still in it.
Ah!
Damn.
All right, I'm leaving the podcast. I'll see you guys later.
Look at this photo real quick. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the bird, so you guys can all know. I don't think he looks that ugly, but yeah,
No,
right
I
here-
think-
right here.
yeah, it
a
looks-
little.
Yeah, on the tail and on the wing, I think it looks a little rough, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just molting. I'm not really good at assessing bird health. First
It
of
just
all,
looks like
It's
it just looks like a bird to me.
just looks like a young bird.
I think I'm pretty sure that's not a goal. I'm pretty sure that's a goal.
Dude, that is not a goal. Look at the bill.
I'm pretty sure that's a Western goal.
Plus, I didn't share with you guys this, but I got a pretty insane photo of Batman today.
Wow, that's monumental, Slater.
It was
Back to the
completely out of
podcast.
focus.
It's
for
so
those
out of
that
focus,
didn't.
it put your video out of focus. Oh, geez.
It's monumental.
All right. Is that it for all your really awesome sightings from Monterey? Killer whales,
Yep.
humpback whales, short-tailed albatross.
For some reason, Fafin has been seen like
A lot.
I feel like 8 of the last 12 days or something. Like he left. Nah, he left for a little while, but he was here for like 5 or 6 days, left for a few days, and now he's back for 4 days again.
That's not unusual. September.
He
I think
probably
he's
probably
sleeping
left
in
when you
September.
left, and then he came back when you came back. He missed
No,
you.
he was there all the days I was gone. Actually,
Ooh, awkward.
I knew they were gonna see killer whales when I left. It's a guarantee.
I feel like he's seen a lot in September. That's not unusual. I actually have a
I
really
love
cool photo of him and Lonesome George with Pacific Grove in the background in September. And it's glassy calm. And at one point, they like both went down, but they were vertical with their heads pointed up at the boat. And it was like blue water because in September, the water column tends to settle out. And so like you just saw these like eye patches looking up at you. And it was kind of creepy, but also like super cool.
I don't ever see any of these Caitlin Taylor photos that you always talk about.
I don't have
I've
a
seen
photo
them
of that
all, bro.
encounter, I don't think. But I just remember because like it was like overcast, so like there's a bunch of glare, but you could just like see these white eye patches pointed upwards. It was so weird.
Adam,
Saying hello.
you
What?
should pay Caitlin like $500 for her to go through her archives.
Wait, is that what?
Adam pays me to go through my
Yeah.
archives.
He wants to be able to
I'm
look
in.
at it. It's like a little like It's like a super cool movie of like
Time
all the whale
capsule.
times. Yeah.
Oh geez.
Yeah, you gotta post some memories on your page, dude. Because I want
Dude,
to see some of these. I
I
want to see a
really-
common dolphin flying through the air. Actually, no, it's on there. I gotta go find it right now.
It is on my Instagram. That was before Instagram let you put like fuller frames, though. I should maybe re-edit it.
So today I found this paper on right whale.
You did?
Oh, did you? What is it
You're
about,
skipping-
Slater?
You're
Well,
skipping the host updates?
Basically, we have some host updates.
The main host update is we have 9 spots left for Whale Nerds Weekend. So if you want to come check out all the cool action that's been happening in Monterey, it's October 14, 15, and 16. We are super excited to have you. And we're putting the finishing touches on all the planning as we're starting to get an updated number of people. And we're super excited to go out with Blue Ocean Whale Watch for 3 days, whale watching, and have some other events. And it's going to be a good time.
You also might see a super ultra rare Adam there.
Adam's not that rare, but maybe he'll scream.
Now I'm guaranteeing killer whales eating a leatherback.
Whoa, dude. If that's what it takes to see a leatherback, I'm in.
Freaking ETPs coming up from Mexico.
Can
just to
you
kill 'em.
imagine? Can you imagine?
No, I can't actually.
Oh, I didn't tell you one thing about Fafin today. So out of nowhere, we're watching Fafin, and then like I don't know, 12 to 20 Rizzos came in like within like a couple hundred yards of him, and then they freaking booked it 100 miles an hour, gone. I was like, we're not gonna see Rizzos today. Sorry, like to my passenger, because they were like gone, and we were still trying to get looks at him. But yeah, they I don't even know if Fafin went near them, but they definitely heard him or something, and they took off.
They're like, yeah, we're all set.
There's no
Not
reason they
gonna
would
do
just
this again.
got within a quarter mile of him or a couple hundred yards and then taken
No.
off. Like it had to have been that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, sorry. Back to reality.
Anyways, okay,
Hope there
so
goes gravity.
we have lots and lots of articles and things about lots of whale things, but I wanted to talk a little bit about North Atlantic right whales again because I like them, and I finally made my way through this huge review paper, which was super interesting. But 2 other like small pieces of news. The most recent is that there is a new mandatory slow zone, a seasonal management area south of Nantucket and extending down the eastern seaboard because there have been right whales detected there. And so, you know, if you're a mariner in those areas and you listen to the podcast, definitely look up the seasonal management areas, go slow, give the whales their space, and migration starts soon. So, you know, be on the lookout for any whales, but especially North Atlantic right whales if you're using those waters. The other piece of news is actually an older article that we just never could quite get in the mix with our topics list. And it's an update on how many calves were documented this year. There's actually 18. So last time we gave a calving update, there were 17. But one right whale mom either snuck by everyone or she gave birth in the northern end of their range somewhere, and she was seen in Canada with the calf. So she got all the way past everybody else and was sighted in the very upper Bay of Fundy off of Briar Island in Nova Scotia. And the mom's name is Lobster.
Wow.
Yeah. And her and her calf were seen
Kind of ironic.
in May, end of May. And let's see. She has a Colossi pattern on her head that looks like lobster claws. She was born in 2002. And her first calf was in 2015. And that's the highlights for the most part. But we'll put the link to the article. There's actually quite a bit of sightings history and stuff about lobster in the article, so it'll go in the comments on the Facebook post with the YouTube link version of this episode. So if you want to read more about it, but there's actually 18 baby right whales this year, so
Is
that
that
was good.
below average, average, above average?
We're gonna talk about it.
Oh, science, bro.
So there was this huge review paper that came out this year in I believe it's in, let's see, something aquatic organisms. Diseases of aquatic organisms, which is part of which journal? I don't know. Anyways. Is that Luna?
Yeah, Luna does not agree.
Luna doesn't like
Whatever
the sad
article
news
it
about
is.
North Atlantic right whales. Okay, so this is assessing North Atlantic right whale health, threats, and development of tools critical for conservation of the species. So basically, it gives a huge summary of what the heck we know about right whales for forever.
I know nothing. Educate me.
North Atlantic right whales were called right whales because they floated after they were hunted, harpooned, and so they were the right whale to kill.
Dang. Are they tooth whales?
They're baleen whales.
Oh,
Very
cool.
rotund baleen whales with no dorsal fin on
Rotund.
their back. And there's these cute kids called the Calvineers that are from Massachusetts, and they have this song about right whales where they're like, they're the right whale living in the wrong time. So that's why we named this episode that name, the right whale living in the wrong time. It's super cute.
That is super cute.
And they were hunted commercially until 1967. And after whaling ended, North Atlantic right whale saw about a 2.8 increase per year until 2010. And then from 2010 to 2020, there was a 20% decline in the species. And they are now not only listed as endangered, but they are critically endangered. And it's a pretty interesting study subject because there is a southern component, which is a totally different story. The southern right whale, it's a very, very, very similar species living in a completely different habitat. And they are actually listed as least concerned if you look at the IUCN red list.
Mm-hmm.
And they were also victims of late 60s Soviet whaling, which was like the covert, like hidden whaling logs that were then uncovered. And anyway, so they were exploited until about the same period of time, but they're not on the endangered species list. They're not threatened, nothing.
I wonder why.
Shocker. We're going to find out. So the current estimate for right whales is there's only 356 right now in the North Atlantic. And they have actually been photo cataloged since 1935.
Whoa.
I didn't know that. That was pretty cool.
That's like way before I was born.
It was before all of us were born. And they think every year they're actually able to capture 75% of the population with new photographs each year.
Interesting.
So pretty cool. In 2011, there was a big shift in their summer feeding habitat. So they used to feed more like the Bay of Fundy, so like Maine and Canada, but also off of Cape Cod. But now they shifted all the way up into the Gulf of St. Lawrence. But then there's also these like late summer sightings like we're seeing right now south of Nantucket. And so the whales are not where people were expecting them to be anymore.
Were, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's causing like some management complications because like all these place-based protections like don't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the northern versus the southern, there is a 20% calf mortality in the breeding grounds for southern right whales, but it doesn't like it's not nearly as big of an impact because there's so many of 20% is 20% regardless.
Yeah, 20%
but
is pretty close.
But they think the main like neonate or like young calf mortality is actually kelp gulls primarily, and then it's like vessel strikes and entanglements.
Kelp gulls.
Yeah, have you not heard about this?
No.
Kelp gulls like peck the little baby right whales to death.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What the heck?
That's sad, and also it looks like it hurts really bad.
Why are we not taking out the kelp gulls?
Google it. Because culling one species to save another species is not a good management plan.
Are you sure? I feel like whales are more important than gulls.
Gull looks just like our gulls.
Yeah.
So it's literally just like an eastern western gull.
A southeastern western gull?
No, it just looks like
I think right whales are more important to the environment than gulls. I'm just putting that out there.
I don't know, dude. But like, look at the thing. Look at kelp gulls attacking right whales. It's so sad.
That's
How many
bizarre.
bird species can go from eating Skittles 1 mile inland to eating anchovies?
Eating out of the what do you call it? The landfill.
Faucet. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, this is
Eating
weird.
with-
How many gulls eat bread bowls and then eat like octopus? Like they eat a lot of different things.
But all of despite the 20% calf mortality for southern right whales, it's not having an impact on their post whaling recovery.
Okay.
North Atlantic right whales. So there's a couple things going on. One, I think southern right whales experience less of a bottleneck than northern right whales, but two, southern right whales have a little bit easier place to recover in compared to the North Atlantic. So North Atlantic right whales, they think were hunted to less than 100 individuals by the end of commercial whaling in the late 1960s. And there was a slow recovery happening despite all the human threats these whales face until 2010. And then from 2017 to now, they're in what's called an unusual mortality event. So 12 whales died in 2017, sparking this declaration, but then another 9 whales died in 2019. And then I think I have this listed somewhere else, but also in 2018, there were no calves born.
None.
None.
Damn.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So they also like the North Atlantic right whale. The biggest impression I got out of this paper, which is like kind of obvious because it's in the title, is like they try to use every single thing at their disposal to study these animals in the most holistic way possible. They're doing all kinds of assessments, necropsies and sampling and live animal sampling, and like it's like they're trying
Drone work,
really hard.
helicopter work.
Yeah, breath sampling, like you name it. They're trying everything. So there's some interesting things that have come out of all these assessments. So there were 54 right whales, North Atlantic right whales, that were dead from 1970 to 2002 that they were able to study. So that's an average of like 1.7 whales died a year. So less than 2 whales died every year during that time period. 77% of the deaths they were able to document were human caused. So of those 77%, 71% of those were vessel strikes and 29% of those were entanglements. So like 2/3, a little more than 2/3 vessel strikes, a little less than 1/3 were entanglements. And then the remaining deaths that they couldn't get an assessment for. Now we're looking at a much shorter time period from 2003 to 2018. There is 4.7 mortalities per year. So almost 5 whales a year.
Wow.
That's a lot more. And of those that the cause of death could be determined, 88% of them were human caused, and 58 were entanglement and 42 were vessel strike. So it's like all of a sudden they flipped. And they're a little more close to even, but like there was more entanglement and less vessel strike. And then when they sort of broke down the population numbers, they looked at females accounted for 66% of the deaths during both study periods. So more than half the whales that are dying are females. And they noticed that until the 2000s, the vessel strike deaths were mostly on the migration route. So then they prompted this seasonal management area thing that I talk about now when I give updates on sightings and like what that means for like slow speeds. So that's when they started implementing the vessels 65 feet or longer, have to go 10 knots or slower when there's right whales detected in the area. Gotcha. And what really like sealed the deal is 3 of the female whales that were killed in that area before the SMA program was put into place were pregnant. It's like you lose 2 whales at once.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh.
Yeah. So they think that the switch from like entanglement taking the lead is because one, because of the SMAs, so the seasonal management areas, they don't have a lot of conclusive data to prove that, but they think that might be some of it. But also improvements in fishing gear are making it more durable, which means it's harder for the whale to break.
Oh.
And so they're showing that like that stronger gear is more fatal. Is that the right word? Yeah, fatal. And there were some cool papers also that were like referenced in there. If you really want to go down a rabbit hole, there's lots of cool papers referenced in there. But anyways, there's two that show for southern right whales and northern right whales that they have less calves when there's less food around. So like they matched like primary productivity with calving success. And like it matches up pretty evenly. Like if there's a lot of food, there's a lot of babies. If there's not a lot of food, there's not a lot of babies.
Weird. It's probably based on how full
Shocker.
Yeah.
So, yes. And then they also followed up again in another section about the entanglement and ship strikes. And they actually have like a scar study thing in there. And they said that 39 cases of whales had deep cuts from propellers, and they think deep cuts are pretty much fatal. 37 of those were from vessels over 65 feet, and then 2 were from vessels in the 40 to 65 foot range. So 65 feet or larger, those are big boats that these whales are coming across. But if they only sustained like what they call like quote unquote shallow cuts from a propeller, they actually had no effect on the 3-year survivorship of the whale. So like little boats or shallow cuts, like these whales are pretty stinking tough, so they're gonna make it. And then we talked about this a couple episodes ago about the like rate of entanglement. So it references that paper again, and it says that 86% of all North Atlantic right whales were entangled at some point from the time period of 1980 to 2017. And at least one whale had evidence of 8 separate entanglement encounters in its life.
Jeez.
Yeah, which is crazy. So that's part of the 1,700-pound weak link suggestion that's been thrown out there. That's what that story with Jabiru's calf that I talked about a month ago, maybe. That's a success story with that new gear program. So hopefully there will be more of those. And yeah, you guys want to keep going? We have more sad stuff. We're like most of the way through. But yeah, it's a pretty sad situation.
I do want to keep going, but my main question so far is what the heck happened in 2010?
There started to be more deaths into the 2010s.
Well, because it said since the whaling was outlawed, their population increased, and then in 2010 was when it started to decrease.
Took this big downturn. That's when the entanglement deaths and the vessel strike deaths started to increase.
So is that like a fisheries problem? Like were more fish, or was the lobster fishery taking off at that point?
There wasn't really a lot of reference to that, but I think maybe just gear strength, but also maybe more effort. And then, global shipping has just been continuously on the rise this whole time. Like
it's just weird that like.
Well, did they shift into a different area too?
Is it a combination of all three? Because it's weird.
Yeah, I think it is, because they did from, I think 2011 onward, they started to notice a big shift in distribution.
So I think it could be like a food distribution thing that then makes them more prone to entanglements and ship strikes because their area changes. So that's what happened. That's why their population's declining now.
Yeah. Yep. And then also the primary productivity link they're worried about in the face of climate change.
Yeah.
Like, is there going to be enough food for them? These animals eat super low in the food chain. So like what do you do to that's their food source?
It makes it even scarier because those basic levels of the trophic levels are the most important. And when you have a population like that struggling,
like how do you foster more
struggling?
Yeah. How do you foster more copepods other than like seriously combat climate change? Like
but that they should 100% be seen as a keystone species if that's the case. Like they should be a health indicator for the total environment. If you don't have copepods, then you don't have right whales. If you don't have right whales, then the whole ecosystem's gonna
exactly. So this was like kind of the like craziest part of the whole thing for me, looking at the health assessment. So they do like aerial surveys of North Atlantic and southern right whales, and they measure their body condition. And when they compared the two species, the North Atlantic right whales are generally in poorer body condition and are shorter than southern right whales, which that's kind of true of most baleen whales. Like southern blue whales are way bigger than North Pacific
But
ones.
is that because, genetics in whaling, were taken out?
Well, so then here's the other thing. They compared a survey of North Atlantic right whales to themselves from 2000 to 2002 and then 2016 to 2020. And the adults are growing slower and they're in poorer body condition than those earlier years. So even compared to themselves, they're not as big and they're not as healthy as the general population. So
Dude,
I'm just
really should go to South America and look at Southern America. Kind of dumb that we're kind of like not that smart to not do we should go.
We should go.
I'm just wondering because the entire everything I've known about Southern North Atlantic right whales was like, okay, it's ship strike and it's entanglement, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really dive deeper, it seems like it's mostly a food source thing. If their body is shorter and they're less healthy and they're having to move around from historically great feeding grounds to these different feeding grounds, it seems like they're following food, which then makes them more prone to these other threats. So it seems like if you fix the food problem, then maybe they're less inclined to face these other threats.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's some of it, but you can't deny that more than not. 3/4 of their deaths are human cause. But I mean, are they 100%. They're less robust animals because potentially less foraging success, but also some of these animals 8 entanglements in your life. They said that the average recovery time post disentanglement is 1.5 to 3 months, but a maximum of 16 months, depending on how intense the injuries were. Yeah. So it's just, you're putting an animal that fasts for part of the year into acute stress during this entire entanglement. Plus, by the time you finally actually disentanglement, it's still down for the count for months afterwards, potentially years afterwards.
I mean, absolutely. That's extremely alarming, but it's just strange that the population was growing by 2% every year up until 2010, when there was a shift in their feeding grounds. And then they started to decline like that.
And then their calving success has really dropped off as well. So they used to
and again, that's all food, isn't it?
I think
it's a combination of all, right? Like we talked about in the past, entanglements, cause as much stress as having a baby. So if you have an entanglement,
and that's where this
less
is coming
likely to
from.
have a baby.
Yeah. So that's where a lot of this is coming from, that they used to see 23 calves a year. Now they're seeing more like 12 a year. And then there's some years where they're not seeing any.
0.
And then the number of reproductive females is dropping. But also they said that there are 36 females from ages 10 to 19 that have not been seen with a calf. They've not been documented with a first calf.
The reproductive age is
that are
further down
reproductive age. So what does that mean? Doesn't sound good. And then the interval between births is also longer. So it used to be under 4 years between calves. Now it's almost 6 years between calves.
So everything is just going wrong for them.
Yeah. So
welcome back to the Sad Nerds podcast, where we are sad about whales.
Sorry.
It's not gonna be sorry. It's just
But this paper is pretty incredible. There's all kinds of cool information. If you really want to get into it. There's all kinds of just the calving success and reproductive success section I thought was really cool. I could have read the whole thing out loud because I was like, all of this is incredible.
It also just sucks. Go ahead.
We know all this stuff and what?
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, it's I was literally just gonna say we've talked about in the past with the southern resident killer whales. It's if you can't save the most iconic species in the ocean, how the heck is anything else supposed to survive? I feel like nobody knows what the hell a right whale is, and if you can't save a freaking killer whale, then are you going to be able to save the right whales? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. at least in the northern hemisphere. So one of the biggest differences between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere is most of the world's population lives above, like north of the equator, right?
Yes.
And you can go to marinetraffic.com and look at how busy the eastern seaboard is on the Canadian and American coastlines, which is right in the heart of
it's inevitable with the way that our commerce moves and the way that it's just inevitable. Is that I wonder if there's, because like here in Santa Barbara, like with our shipping lanes, we definitely see more fin whales and blue whales being hit because they spend more time at the surface. They're bigger whales. They're not as agile as the humpbacks. And I'm wondering if the same is going on with the right whales. Like you guys don't get humpback population decreases like you do with the right whales. Like obviously the right whales spend a lot more time at the surface as well because they're feeding
at the surface.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's behavioral thing, right? Because you like look at it that way. You have two different populations of different species there.
Yeah, we still have ship strikes be an issue with humpbacks.
But the overall population isn't declining, right?
No. But they also weren't hunted to the same numbers that right whales were. I mean, less than 100, that's one heck of a bottleneck.
That is
like the sea otters.
Yeah. Yep.
Get over there and save him, Adam.
What am I supposed to do?
Go ahead, Adam.
It's just like it's the same with any kind of conservation story.
Take your beanie off.
What do you do?
Thinking cap on.
That was pretty good.
You know how you can save them, Adam? Go over there and document them.
Like you can't get freaking 500 yards away from the goddamn things.
I know.
Well, go
how are you supposed
relatives.
to? It's the same thing with the residents, man. Like granted, it is different there because you can see them from shore and everything. But like, how the hell are you supposed to save these things if you can't photograph them? You can't tell their stories. You can't make a connection with them. And that's my biggest problem right now with all these stupid accounts bashing whale watch companies and bashing the people that are out there trying to make people give a shit about these animals. Like it's just like that's our job, that's our goal on this planet, that's why we are here, that's why we have this podcast, to make people care about these animals. And we have so many people right now that are just coming at us and like coming at whale watch companies and everything, and it's like we have bigger fish to fry. Like these whales are dying and you're going to come at us because we're trying to educate people about them, we're trying to show people them and make a connection there. And it's like, again, we have bigger fish to fry. These things are dying.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you coming at us? Why are you coming at the people that like have devoted their lives to these animals?
Well, I think that you see passion come out in a lot of different ways, right? Like just read the comments on Slater's Instagram post.
Yeah, for sure.
Or his Facebook page. Man, I don't know how you get all these people out of the weird corners of the internet. But anyways, I think that at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right? And so it'd be better to stop pointing fingers at each other and to work together to come up with some solutions. And for North Atlantic right whales, especially coming from the West Coast, I feel like maybe I'm biased to not be as familiar with them as individuals and like how much PR there is about them. But I also just feel like there isn't a lot of PR about them, which is why I do like to talk about them on the podcast. But like the population, they have names. Like they don't all, some of them just have catalog numbers, but like this one we just talked about, lobster. Like what?
Where's lobster? I want to know more about Grand Teton.
Yeah, and centipede, and all these. So I don't know if it's a PR problem or if we're not plugged in because we're not from the area. I don't really know, but I do feel like we get people that ask about them almost at least 3 or 4 times a week. But we also have a lot of signage about them on our boat. And we even have a species board in the parking lot that shows like the 4 common baleen whale types before they get on the boat. We have this huge sign. So I don't know if it's because people ask about them because they see the sign or because people know about them. I'm not sure.
It's like, what movie was it? There's some really good nature documentary that's like, I can't remember what it was, but essentially their idea is like this is a PR problem because people just don't know. Like if more people knew about these whales and, like you said, knew them on a more personal basis,
Yeah.
I feel like people would be more willing to donate or to call their representatives or to, like.
Well, and then the other thing that gets really tricky for me, like Michael Moore's one of the lead authors on this paper, and I've definitely quoted him on the podcast before talking about how harsh of a death entanglement is, especially for right whales. It could take several years for a right whale to basically just starve to death. And so he said, we might as well just go back to whaling because death by entanglement is not nearly as humane. Whaling's way more humane. And, it's very blunt, but also for people that understand that, like, I was like, holy moly, he's right. Like, this is a horrible way to die. But then how do you have that conversation and be that blunt without assigning blame to the fishermen and without putting people in a downward spiral about like feeling helpless about what to do? That's a tricky one. We don't have to answer it, but just saying.
Why do they put a little one next to his name in the article?
Because he's a lead author from Woods Hole. So the one is referencing his institution.
There's a few people that have it though, right?
Yeah, all those people are from Woods Hole. Yep.
From what?
From Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute.
Oh, Woods Hole.
In Massachusetts.
They said Wetzel Pretzel. I'm like, what?
Wetzel Pretzel.
Just joking.
That's the name. That should be the name of a North Atlantic right whale.
Maybe just pretzel. Can you imagine if one had a callosities that looked like a pretzel? That'd be so cool. Anyway.
Okay, so what do we do from here? Just give up? Like what?
No.
Delete my Instagram right now.
That's never the answer. It hasn't been the answer for the last 91 episodes. By the way, we are at over 100 episodes. Just so you guys know.
Because we have 10 mini-sodes.
Dang. We have to do something special for like the 100th like full episode.
I don't know what it's gonna be, but we're coming up.
Okay, but Caitlin. So we talked about these whales for an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sad and pissed off.
Sorry.
Everybody, like it's depressing and it's like what the hell can we do?
So
I live on the opposite side of the country from where this is happening. People live across the world.
Some of these matters are settled by Congress. So your representatives need to know that this is an issue that is worthy of their attention. Can
I call a representative that's not representing me?
Yeah, but also your representative will vote on it at some point if a bill makes it to the floor.
That's true.
But also, like, we're global consumers, right? How does that stuff get to us? On a ship across the ocean. So
buy
can
local.
You buy local? Can you go longer between purchases of things that have to go overseas just so there's less ship traffic? Can you find a way to advocate for safer ships or safer shipping practice? And support things like ropeless gear initiatives or weak link or gear modification initiatives. Be careful about what you eat for seafood.
I don't eat seafood.
Just cry, Adam.
But also just like tell people about them. People should know them.
I don't have any pictures of them. Want me to steal somebody's picture?
We can use my pictures.
Do you have pictures of North
Oh, got her. Got him.
Do you have good pictures of them?
They're not super good because they're from the beach, but there's a picture of one with its like pec fin up and there's a cargo ship behind
I'm going.
it. And I was like,
I'm leaving
great.
tomorrow. Hey, is there any North Atlantic? When do they come back?
I don't know. But best time's the spring.
All right, I'll be there.
To see
No,
them
seriously,
from shore.
can we like how
can we get a permit?
Likely is it? Yeah, we've tried that. How likely is it to see them from shore and like with a 500mm lens? Like, is it possible to get it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially at high tide because they're super close to the beach at high tide. But it shifts each year. Like the last couple of years, it was like the first week of May, but this year it was like the first week of April. So.
Well, we gotta act the second it happens. We gotta all get out there. I'm serious. I'm gonna do it. Slater's gonna join me. I don't care if he has a freaking sold out boat in the middle of April because of killer whale season. He's freaking saying goodbye, and we're going to film some North Atlantic right whales.
Yeah. Sorry, people. I don't even want to see killer whales eat a gray whale. Killer whales aren't. Don't stop calling them killer whales, by the way. Okay.
They are killer whales. They kill other whales. Anyway,
Touch my monitor
Actually,
now.
speaking of that, real quick, there's a lady on the passenger on my boat today was like, "How do you feel about that?" And I was like, "You don't want to know how I feel about that." But I did tell her, I was like, "Listen, if humpback whales just swatted sea lions around for fun with their pec fins and killed molas and just grab birds with their mouth and spit them back out, we would call them killer humpbacks. But they don't do that, so that's why they're called killer whales." Like,
Also, speaking on right whales, there was 2 pairs of North.
oh yes,
Pacific
North
right
Pacific
whales.
right
I've been
whales.
Googling trying to find the article. I cannot find it.
It's in the
in
topics thing.
Alaska.
I think
Oh, okay.
either that or it will be later because I have.
So you want to talk about a
somewhere.
freaking endangered whale? Talk about the
Yeah.
freaking North Pacific right whale. God
Yep.
dang, dude, they're even worse.
That's gonna be in
Holy
another
damn.
episode.
Ugh. All right, I'm gonna go cry. You guys want to cry with me or what?
I'd
you
say
guys already cried this
not-
morning, or
Let's not give up hope, but let's try to make
I'm
the
happy.
North Atlantic a safer place for these whales that are just slowly wasting away.
there's a great documentary that just came out not too long ago called Entangled.
Oh yeah, we watched it.
If you would like to, I don't know, where can they find it? Is it available online? I think it is.
If it is, I'll put it in the comments on the Facebook page. I got like a screening link through a
Yeah, so
Facebook
did-
event,
yeah,
but it might be available somewhere.
If not, we will post when it is available so you guys can watch it
Yes.
because it
So
was good.
stay tuned. There will be more right whale news at some point because there's more on our
Yeah.
list, but this is all we could handle for today.
Thank
I
you guys
couldn't
so
handle
much
any of that.
for listening to this podcast. If you made it this far, you're an awesome person.
Yes.
And just so you know, if you're not coming to the all-day trip in October, the 3 days in a row, you're kind of a pleb because it's going to be a great time.
Oh my god. I
What's
think
our?
our secret whale should be lobster, the right whale.
I think it should be lobster, the right whale, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it should be Wetzel Pretzel, but
Lobster, the right whale. Also,
If
you
I
made this
ever see
far-
lobster, I'm gonna give her
if
a
you
hug.
ever see lobster, I'm gonna freak out.
I'm gonna give her a hug.
Big old hug. I want to pet her lobster claw. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, especially if you're a Patreon subscriber. We really appreciate your support. And thank you for rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you listen to it, or subscribing, or whatever the options are on that platform. That helps us find more listeners. Or if you want to just share, like, hey, I found this cool podcast about whales with your friends or random strangers, that would be awesome. Like Jamie does every time she's on the boat. So I much appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Stay positive.
Bye.
Bye.
bye.